Hello.
Students, silence
Okay,
please.
Vara.
Very good morning to everyone, respected professors, and all my dear friends. So, my name is Mansoor, and so I am the new guy who came here, I think 3 days back. And this is my topic. So, I'm kind of nervous, so I hope I can, be very nice and cool with all of you. I'm sorry. So, basically, gap junctions. I always wanted to do this. Okay, gap junctions are. Okay. So today my topic is gap junctions, and before we start, I would like to, by the end of this class, I hope you all will understand what a gap junction is and how does it look, and what is the structure, and where do you mainly find them, and what purpose do these gap junctions serve, and what is a syncytium and intercalary discs. That we will discuss after understanding first where they are found. Coming to my next slide, a gap junction is nothing, but it is basically a tunnel for communication between two cells. So basically in our textbook term they call it as intercellular communication, as communication between two cells. So this is how a gap junction looks like, and you can see that it looks like a tunnel here. So a gap junction is present between two cells, and between two cells you will find two connections, and these two connections are what you see this exchange of ions and protein molecules is what occurs here. And what is this tunnel made of? Ready to solve for this. So what is this tunnel made of? This tunnel you see has it consists of two connections, okay? And each connection is a bundle like tube. So this tube consists, you see this hollow space, so this is where the ions transfer from. And it has 6 connection proteins, that are like solid hollow cylinders, that join together to form this gap in middle, through which the exchange of ions occurs. And why is it important, and what purpose do they serve, and where are they found? That we will discuss in the next slide. So here is a bigger picture of that. Hello. Hello. Here is a bigger picture of that. And so basically they are mainly found in places where excitability and where contraction is required. So can you imagine any places where you think there is a need of excitation or contraction? Sorry? Yeah, muscles. Someone said muscles and someone said cardiac cells. Yes, you are very right. Yeah, we find them in muscles and cardiac cells. I think like cardiac, both are muscles. Heart is also a muscle, right? So yeah, we find them in muscles and also in neurons. What? Okay. Alright, it was already on the board. So yeah, but we mainly find gap junctions because of excitability. We find them like they have electrical synapses. Will find them, right? And gap junction is smooth muscles. You see these blue dots. So these blue dots are gap junctions between these muscles. So muscles, you see, smooth muscles are also a syncytium. What is a syncytium and what are intercalated discs? I will explain in the next slide. So basically, you see the contraction that happens in a skeletal muscle varies from the contraction that happens in a smooth muscle. So the contraction in a skeletal muscle, what happens is you have this cross arm. So you have tropomyosin in skeletal muscles that mask the binding sites of the myosin cross arm is here. So to unmask it, we unmask it with the help of calcium ions, and these calcium ions come from the sarcoplasmic reticulum in skeletal muscles. We do not have sarcoplasmic reticulum in smooth muscles. So that is how the calcium ions flow here through gap junction. And that is where, and then they unmask the binding site for the cross arm, and then the myosin filament binds with the actin filaments, and the actin filaments slide over the myosin filaments, doing the contraction. And here is how contraction happens in a smooth muscle. You see, in smooth muscles, you majorly find more number of actin filaments comparatively than myosin filaments. You can see there are more actin filaments, and we have dense bodies. Dense bodies are kind of like a bead-like structure that hold these active lipids, like a bunch of threads. And here is how the contraction happens. Even in contraction in smooth muscles, we require calcium. So how does this calcium come? This calcium flows here through gap junctions, and the contraction you can see is like it's contracting from all the sides. Whereas in skeletal muscle, we see contraction going, it slides like forward and backwards, forward, behind, like this, close. But in smooth muscle, it's like this. I think you can understand. It's like from all the directions. But whereas in skeletal muscles, it's like that. So yeah, so smooth muscles, you see, what happens is, the purpose that they serve, the smooth muscles, is that during the 7th month of gestation, the progesterone and estrogen ratio increases. What progesterone does is, progesterone prevents the parturition of the baby, and estrogen enhances it. So what estrogen does is, estrogen increases the number of gap junctions in the smooth muscle here, in the uterus. And that way what happens is, more the number of gap junctions, more will the calcium ions flow, more the calcium ions flow, more the contraction occurs, more the contraction occurs, more quickly the baby will come out. So this is what happens here. So you can see now coming to gap junctions in electrical synapse. So gap junctions, you can see, you will find them also in electrical synapse, through which the ions are exchanged, sodium ions, that help in electrochemical, regeneration. So now coming to a syncytium. Actually, let's go to the next slide first. So cardiac muscle is a syncytium. So why is cardiac muscle a syncytium? What is a syncytium? Now coming back to the slide, syncytium is formed by a fusion of multiple uninuclear cells. So syncytium is nothing but, you see, so imagine there are all the single cells, and all of these single cells come together and form one big cell with multiple nucleus. You can see the multiple nucleus here. So they are fused. And that same way you can understand what interconnected discs are. Interconnected discs are nothing but they are plasma membranes of these two cells that are fused. So this lining is basically plasma membrane border. In this lining is where you will find the gap junctions. Why do we find gap junctions in heart? And why is heart a syncytium? Basically, we have in heart, there are two types of syncytium that are present. One is atrial syncytium and the other is ventricular syncytium. So, two syncytium. Atrial syncytium, it has two atrias, and ventricular syncytium has it for the two ventricles. So, when two of these contract, why it is important is that we know how important the pumping of heart is, and it is done by the electrical conductivity. That is, SA node generates the impulse, the pacemaker and the pace setter and all that. So for that, it is very important that that the contraction, all the muscles contract together at the same time, and there should not be any delay in that. So to contract more efficiently, to increase the cardiac output, we have lots of gap junctions that are, there is no distance at all. You can see they all are fused. So when they all are fused, the ions will flow easily. So the contraction just occurs, like that, as if it is one muscle. All this, they join together, forming kind of like one unitary muscle. So that way they will contract as one. So this way, the cardiac output and all this thing happens. So here is what again I have explained why. Because of the presence of gap junctions. Syncytium is basically, in simple terms, it means working together. Working together. So all these cells work together to generate one impulse. And here is another example. Here is they're just bridges. In other words, he is explaining what is it. Gap junctions are low bridges which conduct excitation from one side to other side rapidly. Cytoplasm, yes. They connect the cytoplasm of two adjacent cells. You can see here. Here is plasma membrane, but you will find the gap junction connecting the it goes deep, as deep as into the cytoplasm of two cells. And here is again the atrial and ventricular contraction. This is how it happens. First, the SA node, the pacemaker, initiates the impulse, and the impulse goes to atrial syncytium, where then it goes to the junction fibers, and then it contracts in the node, and then later ventricular syncytium. So first, atria contracts, later the ventricles contract. So this way the cardiac output is all maintained so that the flow of blood happens very efficiently here. And there is one more thing. Okay, forget about the slides. Now I will just explain in just a summary kind of thing. So what these gap junctions do is, gap junctions are basically the small tunnels. I've already told you already, but I'll still go again. So gap junctions are basically tunnels which help in transport of ions. Like what ions? Sodium, calcium, but not only sodium, calcium ions, they also help in transport of cyclic AMP and IP3. So what cyclic AMP and IP3 do is, sodium helps in electrical conductivity and calcium helps in contraction of the muscles. What cyclic AMP and IP3 does is, cyclic AMP and IP3, they help as cellular messengers. Interferons, they serve kind of like the same role as interferons. Interferons are cellular messengers that warn the other cells that there is there's a threat coming to me. I think programmed cell that initiates apoptosis. So tells the next cell you have to die. And for that, with your permission, can I call my friends to demonstrate how apoptosis looks like?
Apoptosis is a topic of Indu Parvati.
Okay.
When she finishes, can you do the demonstration?
Okay, fine.
So that we allow her to talk about it.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So I won't go very deep into apoptosis. So basically, what I'm telling is not only interferons, but also cell junctions serve a small role in triggering apoptosis, that is cell death, through cyclic AMP